Hello, hello. Welcome back to Simple Astrology. If you don't already know me, my name is Tara All. I am an astrologer currently living in Los Angeles, and I am extra passionate about astrology that helps us embody more of who we are, where we're at right now, which gives us more agency to actually make new choices. And I'm also a big fan of continually going back and looking at the basics in new ways from new places and new perspectives, because astrology being the language of energy, it's all the foundation supports everything. So the more you understand and the richer your experience of the archetypes, the better of an astrologer you will be. And if you're just interested in learning more about yourself and don't plan to be an astrologer, it will still give you just a better grasp of life, yourself, the people around you. So that being said, we have made it to Cancer, which is perfect because we are in Cancer season right now. Cancer is a sign that I have a lot of personal experience with because I have a number of planets in Cancer and most of them in the 4th house. So my approach to astrology is really understanding the wholeness of it and the cycles and the patterns in it. And a great way to start is by just simply looking at the wheel, the 12 signs in the zodiac, meaning starting from Aries, ending in Pisces. The first sign, Aries, initiates. Cardinal signs always initiate new things. The entire zodiac starts with a cardinal sign, and cardinal is one of the 3 modes or modalities, the way that energy moves. And second is fixed, the third is mutable. So throughout the entire zodiac, we move in the same order: cardinal, fixed, mutable, cardinal, fixed, mutable, cardinal, fixed, mutable, cardinal, fixed, mutable. Just understanding that is a great doorway into taking a look at your birth chart and recognizing the way that your energy likes to move. If you have a lot of planets in cardinal signs, then you'll want to get things going. You'll get excited to get things off the start line, might have a harder time finishing them. You might get bored with things that are monotonous all the time because cardinal energy, it's naturally fiery. It wants to move ahead and start something brand new. Fixed energy is stabilizing, and it brings value, meaning, and purpose to whatever was previously initiated. And then mutability, the mutable signs, mutable energy, is about learning, getting relative perspective, and very much about endings so that we can become flexible enough and adaptable enough to move into new beginnings, because the mutable signs sit between fixed and cardinal. So just kind of once we get things all stable and comfortable and working how we like it, or at least how it's consistent, then we have to somehow get ready for a bridge to move into something new. Okay, so you may already know that. If you're just tuning in for the first time, I want to make sure that everybody here has an understanding of that, because I will be talking about the modes through these different videos. And then we also look at the elements around the wheel. So again, Aries starts the zodiac and it's a fire sign. After fire, we always have earth. After earth, we have air. After air, we have water. Those repeat. The other repeating theme around the wheel is what we call yin yang, masculine, feminine, day or night, whatever your take is on all that. It's not about female, male at all. It's about energy that goes out, that asserts itself, that moves out of the crowd into doing its own thing, versus energy that is receptive and more inclusive. Just different ways of the energy expressing. And Aries is yang, masculine, daytime energy. And then so the wheel starts with that. And then once, think of it this way, right? Aries initiates, goes out to start something new. And then with Taurus, the energy has to come back in. So in some respects, we're going out, we're going in, we're going out, we're going in, all the way around the wheel. So at this point, once we're reaching Cancer, this is our first water sign. So Aries was fire, Taurus, earth, Gemini, air, and now we reach Cancer, which is water. Cancer is the second cardinal sign in the wheel. So what we know with Cancer is that something new is initiating because it's cardinal. And you can look at that with all the cardinal signs. Something new is initiating. Cancer is a feminine yin nighttime sign. So it's receptive. It's more introverted. And so the initiation that's happening is more of an initiation on the inside. And with Cancer, one of the main functions of Cancer is the formation of the self-identity, meaning that it's the point in our growth. And you can think about this just as a child. The Cancer years, by the time you reach that point, it's the first time that you start to really recognize yourself as a separate individual with separate feelings, separate responses, separate reactions. So Cancer, it's a big important part for all of us because it's where we get a sense of who we are. We literally initiate this exploration deep into our psyche, into the roots of who we are, roots that go through past just our genetics, but deep into where we feel that we're actually from. And then I oftentimes with Cancer, it rules the fourth house, which sits at the very base of the chart. And that is like a rooting and anchor point there at the base of the chart. I think of it as kind of the bedrock upon which we as human individuals rest. We all rest on our Cancer energy, our fourth house energy. And ultimately, it is our emotional security, our emotional stability. It's a foundation that's flexible. It's water, where we need to be able to flow and move through moods and feelings. This is the nature of Cancer, but it's stability through the flow. And the only way to know if you're going to be stable is to initiate the flow. The only way to gain stability, the only way to figure out what's actually going on deep down inside ourselves is to initiate experiences that give that to us. So oftentimes you'll see Cancer choosing to watch movies, choosing to listen to music, choosing to bring up old memories, choosing to do all kinds of things that evoke emotion, because Cancer is becoming, learning, experiencing through feeling. Now, it's important when working with Cancer to recognize that the emotional experience we have, it's not quote unquote real. This does not negate that we're feeling something. So I'm not saying that, if I'm sad, that means you're not really sad. What I mean by this is that the emotional experience is a reaction. It's the mind playing around with feelings, coming up with a story, pulling in old history, and then having an emotional experience of the memory of that old history now, which is what I mean by it not being real, meaning so much of that Cancer energy, that emotional energy, is what we're making up. Now, we have good reason to make it up. Things have happened in our past. We remember them and still feel them certain ways. And so it triggers us now. But the healthiest place for Cancer energy to be is to, even while that flow is happening, when that insecurity is rising, when that moodiness is coming up, when the neediness is coming up, that not to run away from it, not to leave it, actually to be able to stay with it, to be able to stay with it, stay with yourself while that emotional experience is happening, but to remember, you know, the in the like the in the deeper part of yourself, to remember that it's not real. The personality that we all have in this life, it's not who we really are, but we need it for our evolution. We need it for our humanity. Cancer is very much a human sign. I think of Cancer sometimes as being the most human sign. It's ruled by the moon, and the moon rules the average everyday people, the average everyday human experiences. There's mystery in that. You know, there's plenty of mystery in the moon. But ultimately, it's about humanity and embracing the vulnerability and the fragility of humanity at the same time with celebrating its strengths. But Cancer is a sign, very intuitive, empathic sign. It feels feelings. It feels what other people are feeling. It picks up on emotional energy in the environment. It's sensitive. One of the reasons why it's so sensitive is that it's coming from a subjective orientation, meaning Cancer is really on some levels just figuring out who it is on its own. And so everything that's happening externally is felt or filtered in the context of what that's doing to me, or what that means about me, or how that makes me feel. This is super important territory, but it's super important to remember that life isn't actually happening at you, right? Cancer can take things very, very personally. Yeah, I can't overemphasize this, taking things personally. And in those moments when you take it personally, it's not even just about the thing happening now. It's the 100,000th time that this variation of this type of emotional experience has happened before. I'm remembering something, a version of something that's happened in a different version so many times now, but it's got me in its emotional tethers. So there's such an important piece to Cancer of needing to develop some maturity, develop some boundaries. Cancer can, I talk about polarities in each of these videos. And with Cancer, the Cancer Capricorn polarity, which is one big field of energy, Cancer can draw upon Capricorn for boundaries, healthy boundaries. Water on its own, flows all over the place, or can. Earth helps hold it in some amount of containment. Cancer, always we're dealing with, on some level, family of origin and parental dynamics. And Capricorn brings that up too. They're just in sort of different shades or flavors of that spectrum of energy. But so with Cancer, there's a lot of links to our idea of what mothering is, or nurturing, because we didn't all have a mom who did that. It could have been our father, could have been an aunt or an uncle. But that nurturing energy, and at some level, all of us have an expectation, a childlike expectation of what we were supposed to have received from parents. It's totally natural. But in Cancer, we revisit that again as adults. And we need to. Those of us with strong Cancer in our chart, we are definitely revisiting parental dynamics. And it's our job now that we are wiser, have a little more information, hopefully a little more introspection, that we can actually honor that inner child, make room for it to re-express itself again, and we can be the parents to that child and provide ourselves with what we need. Because ultimately, the most healthy Cancer takes care of itself. It takes care of itself at least equal to how it takes care of those around it. One of the downfalls of Cancer, or I should say one of just the more darker expressions of it, is the caretaker that keeps its emotional connection, derives its emotional security, false emotional security from connecting with other people in codependent types of relationships, meaning finding people who need you to take care of them, finding people who will take care of you, especially emotionally. Meaning, oh, the world will come crashing down if I can't get my friend on the phone because he always helps me. Or attracting partners who we either parent ourselves or we allow them to parent us. Because Cancer and its polarity Capricorn are really not about equal relationships. They're working through the dynamics of someone above, someone below, right? Someone wiser, someone wiser, teaching someone who needs to learn, someone leading someone who needs to follow an example. Those are kind of Capricorn ones. With Cancer, someone needing to be taken care of, someone needing someone to nurture them and to hold safe space for them, create a home for them. But you see, these things all create dependencies. And, there's nothing wrong with any of these experiences. We're just all having whatever experiences that we need. But a conscious Cancer is able to truly become helpful, caring, and healing to the world around it. It just takes usually a lot of work and time to get there. There's a saying, I don't remember who I first heard it from, is that Cancer feeds off of the world until it learns to feed itself. And when it learns to feed itself, then it truly feeds the world, truly becomes the archetype of that great, it's not even great mother. I like great grandmother better. Maybe I got that from Stephen Forrest, but it has a better fit to me. The idea of being a grandmother to the world, being a grandmother to humanity. What would that look like for you? So kind of sitting with that around Cancer energy. There's certainly definitely just a nurturing nature in Cancer. So even growing anything, growing plants, growing projects, creating things, supporting people and watching them grow, some of the great joys of Cancer. But I feel like with Cancer, if you can't be very honest in owning your own immaturity, it's very difficult to be a support system to yourself or to anyone else. The cool thing about this is you don't have to get it all right, whatever right means. You don't have to all of a sudden become 100% emotionally stable where you never fly off the handle or go off on the emotional roller coaster for a while. I mean, shoot, every Cancer is going to be a bit of a moody person. They may try to keep that from you, but it's pretty hard. With the Cancer, it's pretty obvious. I mean, we're moody creatures. We tend to be emotional eaters. We look for things to satiate. We want to be comfortable, ruled by the moon. The moon is about comfort. We want to be safe, want to feel comfortable, want to feel like we belong somewhere. So all kinds of strategies we can use, to make that happen. They're not, not all of them are particularly constructive. Emotional attachments can be a beautiful thing. Sentiment can be a beautiful thing, but oftentimes it's not authentic. Oftentimes we do things that are quote unquote caring, not because we just genuinely care, but because we want to maintain a connection. We want to make sure that person, we're still in a heart-to-heart space with them, that we can still count on them, that they're not leaving us. See, Cancer oftentimes can have fears of being emotionally abandoned. There's a kind of an ongoing thing for me with Cancer, which is the feeling that if my environment is safe and if I have what I need, and of course my needs are personal to me, so everyone's are different. So just think about this for yourself, this idea that if my external environment, the people around me, the things around me, if they make me comfortable and I feel safe and I feel okay, then I can come out of my inner self and be me. But Cancer is an inside job. It's initiating experiences on the inside so we can figure out really what we're made of, really who we are at a deep personal level. To learn how to take care of ourselves, to nurture our dreams, to nurture whoever it is that we are and ourselves as we are revealing. Because life is not so much of a becoming, although I use that word, it's more of an unraveling. We take another layer off and we see more of what we are and who we are. So Cancer is part of that process of, digging in to see what that is. So back to what I was saying about it being very difficult to truly support yourself and others if you can't be real about where you are right now. This is the thing. So being empowered in whatever space you are in, even if that's fragile, even if that's feeling vulnerable in a way that you don't like, even if that's fearful, angry, jealous, being in that space where you are and owning that space has power. And it allows room for you. When you can be with your own feelings in that way, then you can start to be with other people and their feelings without them taking over. Which gives us this whole room to have a huge array of emotional experiences without letting the reactions take control of us. Meaning, I can be super grouchy one day and still do a great job at whatever task I'm working on and still really help my friend when she calls me. My being grouchy doesn't have to be such a big of an issue. If I buy into the story of grouchy and start making up new stories about grouchy, well, then maybe that drives my experience. But if I allow grouchy, I oftentimes find out that grouchy is not what I thought grouchy was. And I'm just using grouchy as one example. You really have to feel your way with Cancer. It's the part of us that we can't rationalize. You can't just sit down and logically write out a list and figure it out. You have to be with yourself to see what's happening. And be okay with sometimes not having a word to describe it and not knowing why it's happening. You get the information you need as it comes. So with Cancer and Capricorn, I talked about how Capricorn can help with some healthy boundaries for Cancer. But on the flip side, Capricorn on its own can be very purpose-driven in the sense that it can be very focused on external results. It can be very focused on keeping things together and kind of looking at life as a business, right? As a whole business operation. And so in that focus, there can be a loss of sight around the individual, taking care of yourself as one, but also the individuals that you're working with. See, there's a wonderful balance between Capricorn and Cancer of enough boundaries, enough fluidity, empathy when you need it, to be sensitive and really feel what other people need and where they're coming from, at the same time able to get the job done, not wallowing around in feelings all day, but finding a way to constructively move forward. The balance between the two. But the balance between our private selves or our private self-identity, our private self-image, some words that we use with Cancer, in addition to our public Capricorn image, our public identity, who we see ourselves as out in the world, ideally you want them to be integrated. You want who you are on the inside to express on the outside. To truly know who you are on the inside, you need time with yourself. You need time to let the inner child come out. You need time for your imagination. You need time to feel where you're at. And when you do that, you will have a more natural, fuller expression of yourself externally. If you just program yourself to do out in the world what you think you're supposed to do without taking the time to bring it back home, Cancer, and to figure out what you're actually about and who you actually are to the best that you can, there will be a split oftentimes. And there can be a lot of frustration because you could be very successful out doing your Capricorn thing. You could be very successful in the world. You could be very successful in life, but you very likely will not feel that you're honoring your heart. And at some point, that will start to hurt. And when that starts to hurt, it brings up all kinds of childhood things. And it's funny, we can go back and look and see how some of the very struggles and issues we had when we were children, they just represent themselves in new costumes and new situations. So we need a balance between both, you know? We need to be disciplined with ourselves to do the work that we've come here to do, Capricorn. But we also need to take care of ourselves and have a safe space where we can just be who we are without worrying about expectations sometimes. That's Cancer, you know? Cancer doesn't push you to do something. Cancer allows you just to be who you are. But like I was saying, it's very hard to do that for others if you're not doing that for yourself. I think about Cancer sometimes in the sense that Leo follows. And so many times you'll see people really trying to do their Leo thing. They're so trying to shine their light. They're trying to find just the right stage where they can express themselves and that the world will love it. And you can see in those moments for yourself and for others when they don't work out so well. And that hurts, by the way, pushes you right back on that inner child right away and brings up all those inner feelings. But anytime that doesn't work out so well, it's almost always because Leo tried to move ahead of Cancer. So, got to go back. You got to go back and make sure that the bedrock, the foundation, is authentic, that you've got yourself there, you can hold yourself there, that you know you can take care of yourself, and that you have investigated enough to have a feel and a sense of who you are, and that whatever that looks like, that formation, that container of who you are is something that you made. Because so many of us are stuck, contorted in containers that we were just raised up in, that we thought we were supposed to be in, that culture just dictated that that's where we end up. But Cancer is about creating your own space. The crab has a shell. The crab has a shell, right? And the crab can go in and come out of the shell. But you have control over so much of that process. What do you want that shell to be like? How much do you want to come out of it? How much do you want to go into it? So, yes, there's a natural self-protection in Cancer. There's a natural defensiveness in Cancer. Can you imagine a little bit more why now? Because it's dealing with the softest guts of what you are and who you are. That protective shell is what has been built over time in history, this lifetime and past lifetimes, that you have constructed to protect yourself. That's a healthy thing. But over time, you'll need to shed that shell and come up with a different one. That's a healthy way of developing your identity. And a happy way of approaching Cancer. There's so much creativity in that space. There's so much ability to speak the language of the soul. You know, Cancer's got the, it's like, it has an ancient feel to it. Comes from the waters that hold all time, but it's crawling out onto the earth. And so to find that balance of going back, going forward, In the tarot, the Chariot is the card associated with Cancer. And the Chariot very much is about knowing when to go forward and knowing when to stop. That's so much part of Cancer. Finding the balance, finding the flow. In, out, internal, external. But like I said before, it's an internal job. So it has to start there. The external needs to be driven by the internal. They need to inform each other. Well, thank you for hanging out with me in whatever time space you are in. Thank you for some happy Cancer time. I'm just thinking to myself, if I left any major Cancer things out, I'm sure that I did, because every sign is just this huge realm of evolutionary opportunity that really is meant to be explored. So if you have any thoughts or ideas, and if you have anything you want to share with me, I always love to hear it. You can reach me through my website, tarotall.com. I'm not always great about checking comments on YouTube here, but if you message me directly, I would be delighted to hear from you. And I wish you all the best. And until next time, take care.